Virtually every thru hiker who sets out to hike the Appalachian Trail starts around March, when spring is coming to North Georgia. Not Sammy Potter and his friend Jackson Perrell. They started out on New Year's Day.
We got hit with like a pretty brutal winter, and so we hiked just over half of the Appalachian Trail, so all the way from Georgia to about halfway through Pennsylvania. At that point, we got hit with just a brutal storm. We were up to our waist in snow on just a daily basis.
The conditions forced them to change their plans. They diverted to the southern end of the Continental Divide Trail and hiked north 400 or 500 miles. Then went to the southern end of the Pacific Crest Trail and proceeded north for about 750 miles. Then returned to the Appalachian Trail and resumed hiking from Pennsylvania. In all, since the 1st of January, they've covered about 2,500 miles.
You knew going into this that it was going to be physically arduous. So just from a physical standpoint, what's it been like? Roughly what you expected? A little easier or harder?
I think on the day-to-day level, it's probably been a little bit easier than I expected. And I realize that sounds like insane. We're hiking basically equivalent to a marathon a day. However, I will say like the compounding effects of hiking that much on a daily basis are a lot harder than I expected. So just like the strain on our muscles, we've had some pretty gnarly blisters. I would like send you some pictures, but I don't want to gross you out too much. Basically, like both of us have had blisters that have enveloped basically our entire toes.
What may be even more daunting are the mental challenges. Some of the most taxing came in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, where 4 snowstorms in 4 days left 2.5 feet of snow on the trail.
There's nobody else on trail at this time of year. You have to be kind of like insane to be out there. So we're breaking trail, and just the emotional toll, I think, of looking at, a foot of snow for miles and miles, knowing that we're going to have to break that trail while it's continuing to snow and we're soaking wet. It's just, you just kind of have to laugh at the situation. And, but it definitely adds up over time. That's for sure.
We've talked about what the challenging parts have been of what you're doing. What have been the most rewarding parts?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of ironic, right? Like challenging and rewarding are almost two sides of the same coin. So like with that example in the Smoky Mountains, despite getting hit with like a snowstorm every day and being in, sub-zero temperatures and being wet and almost freezing, we were also able to get to the highest point on the East Coast, a place called Clingman's Dome, a little over like 6,200 feet, and see the sunset from right there.
Hey, Sean. Worth it.
And so I think it's recognizing like or being grateful, especially for like the very specific spot that we get to be in because we go through those challenging situations.
Good boy.
Good boy. As time goes on, like this gets more and more fun. Like we get in better shape like every day, minus like a few injuries here and there. We understand the trails better every day. We know ourselves and our capabilities a little bit more every day. So like it's just more and more fun. Like the more time that we spent out here, the more enjoyable it's been,
When we talked, Sammy Potter was near the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border, heading north with the goal of hiking around 25 miles a day until hitting the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Then, as the terrain becomes more rugged, he hopes to cover about 20 miles a day until reaching the end of the Appalachian Trail on the summit of Katahdin.
You guys have taken time off from college to do this trip. You do plan to return to college, but as an educational experience, I imagine that this is unlike anything you've ever even imagined.
Yeah. I would encourage all of my high school and college teachers to shut their ears for a minute. But like, I would say I've probably learned more in like the last 3 months than I think I have in like the first 2 years of college. It's a different world out here, especially in the winter, when you're, simply like trying to survive and get from point A to point B. It's a fast learning curve. And if you don't jump onto that learning curve pretty quickly, it's not going to go well.
Quick question. Do you know how much weight you've lost on the trail?
Yeah, I've actually lost 2 pounds. So, sorry, that's a bit misleading. I've lost like 10 pounds, gained like 12 pounds, and lost like 4 pounds. So like it's fluctuated a bit, but like net only 2 pounds, which I'm pretty happy with.
That's amazing. Everybody loses a lot of weight. Clearly, you went in excellent condition. Another quick question.
The thing is, I eat about like 6,000, 7,000 calories a day. So that helps keep the weight on.
To hike the Appalachian Trail in winter requires exceptional grit. There's a saying that has helped keep Sammy Potter going.
Throughout this whole journey, I think one of the biggest mantras I've had with myself is, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And it was kind of funny that we ended up chatting today because one of my childhood heroes, Julian Edelman, as I'm sure you saw, just announced that he's retiring. And I first heard that quote from Edelman. So I've been thinking a lot about him and that mentality today. And I think that really is a great way to describe our first 3 months on trail, is just knowing that these tough times are we're going to get through them and we're going to be grateful for them. And it makes us tougher for going through them.
I don't think when Thoreau was out in the wilderness, he was worried about the future of the New England Patriots, but I think he'd applaud the way you have embraced the Edelman philosophy.
I think more about the future of the Patriots than is probably healthy.